despite the fact that I'm doing Halo now, I feel like this is still going to be roasting Destiny 2 in a way. What's interesting about this one is it bears a striking resemblance to the Denel NTW-20, which came out about 10 years before Halo CE. As you can see here, the NTW-20 is bolt action, whereas this is semi-automatic, and the NTW-20, the magazine sticks out the side instead of the bottom. But other than that, it's clear to see the resemblance is really there. I don't care what Brandon Herrera says, the Cybertruck, there's pretty much nothing you could do with it to make it even 1% as cool as a Warthog. Once again, we have a strong evidence for their reference for this game being quite a bit of South African weaponry, because if we look at this is the Neosted 2000. It does not have a too dissimilar look and layout to this Halo CE pump shotgun. As the 2 magazine tubes run on the top, this also has what appears to be 2 magazine tubes right at the top. It has the barrel that intersects through the pump. There's definitely a resemblance here that I'm thinking they were looking at a lot of South African weapons by Neo-Free2 while they were working on this game. Imagine that, a Bungie developer actually looking at real guns for weapons. How unheard of is that? It's also interesting that you don't see more shotguns with the magazine tubes on the top. Seems like a really interesting way to shake things up that most games don't take advantage of. First thing, I like the diagram. You can tell that somebody at some point tried to hold it by this and that and got themselves hurt or damaged the rocket launcher at some point. It doesn't make sense that this whole assembly gets replaced when you reload the thing. You think that there would be a ability to just replace the tubes without replacing this. But at the very least, it is very cool looking. And if you're not going to make sense, at least be cool looking. Now, this version of the Rocket Hog, I believe, is multiplayer exclusive. I never really played Halo CE multiplayer, so I don't know how it functions differently in terms of that. It does look strange. I think I prefer the turret design of this over the later Twin Pod Rocket Hog design, although I do think I'm in the minority in that respect. A rather common theme with these weapons is that most of them don't have triggers, which is strange. But, the Halo CE assault rifle, it's not great from a design aspect. It's a little bit cramped back here. It's a little bit tall. Kind of has cartoonish proportions to it. There's not really like an ejection port. There's not nearly enough room in here for 60 rounds in a magazine. There's a lot wrong with it, but also it could be a lot worse. It has a safety, which is very neat that they actually modeled that in there. The Halo CE Magnum is well renowned for very good reason. A lot of the design aspects don't make sense. The barrel is a little bit short. This handguard here would make it quite difficult to put into a holster. This extended magazine is a little goofy looking. It has gutter sights back here that are completely blocked by this laser sight up here, but it does follow the rules of if you're going to not make sense, at least be cool looking. And this gun is very cool looking and functions quite well. It does partake in the trope that I'm not a huge fan of, where pistols do more damage than rifles, but this was not the first game to do that trope, nor was it the last. It is a strong exemplar of it, and likely popularized it for many years to come. I'm not a huge fan of that, but it's not a deal breaker. The flamethrower is a little bit of an odd duck. For one thing, it's only available in multiplayer. It's not actually available in the campaign. It appears to have a oil filter sticking out of the side of it. It looks almost like a motorcycle turned into a flamethrower. I do like the nose art on the end. It does have a very, very out there aesthetic compared to everything else, whereas you have human stuff that is typically clean and well manufactured. Then you have the alien stuff, which is of course alien looking. This looks like something out of Mad Max. Now, last but not least, you gotta love the Scorpion. The extra bits of track bolted to the side, the recoiling bit on the rear that is your auto loader, the rounds coming out of the back, the split tracks, that's just can't beat the Scorpion in terms of fictional tank design. It bounces? Who the hell designs a gun that bounces? This is the worst gun ever! Ah, yes, the Needler. I'm a bit in two minds about this. On one hand, aesthetically, it is A+ weapon design. It looks very alien. It looks very cool. The circuit boards on the back, the glowing needle sticking out the top. It's a very cool weapon. Mechanically, in-game, it's a very cool weapon. The seeking projectiles to account for people who aren't necessarily good at aiming with a controller, which probably would have been a majority of people at the time, given the climate in which Halo came out in. However, the thing I'm not a huge fan of is that this does appear really frequently throughout the campaign, to where you're using this a lot of the time. Probably a bulk of your time playing the campaign will be spent using this, and that I'm a fan of the weapon, but not as being the main weapon you're going to be using for most of the game. One thing I've not really heard mentioned about the Ghost is it does bear a really striking resemblance to the BICH-17 fighter plane. Of course, this would be backwards compared to the Ghost, but I think the resemblance is undeniable. It wouldn't surprise me if whoever designed the Ghost seen a picture of this first and then back-solved from there to get this. The plasma pistol has much of the same problem as the needler, where it's really common to the point where it's a bit of a detriment. However, I do find the plasma pistol to not be quite as annoying to use, or rather the plasma pistol is more fun to use. It has that fairly conventional tap to fire small, hold to fire big, really simple and time-proven gameplay design. It looks very alien. It suits the aesthetic of pretty much everything. It doesn't look weird in Master Chief's hand, but also doesn't look weird in the alien hands. It's just a very well-designed weapon, both aesthetically and by gameplay standard. Plasma rifle, to me, it has always looked like the designer just left the vertical mirror tool on while they were making it and were like, oh shoot, and then just scaled that in there and called it a day. Even though it definitely does look like that, it does not prevent it from looking good. And I do think it looks good. I think this whole setup they have here with the arcing crystals creating the emission point for the projectiles is pretty cool. Again, no trigger on this. Most of the guns in this game seem to lack triggers. It looks cool being single wielded. It looks cool being dual wielded, especially by elites. Really a mainstay, and there's good reason for that. I really do appreciate how unmistakably alien the Banshee looks. The fact that you lay down in the prone to get into it as opposed to sitting in a seat. The fact of how spindly and weird the wings are. It's unmistakably alien, but it's very cool and still to this day very unique. A bit of a shorter one for this video. Halo CE, even including the vehicles, doesn't have a whole lot of variety for me to look at, but with the later games, obviously, with them having more things in them, should be longer each video. And in case you didn't realize already, Halo 2 is the next video.